It was just after dawn when police knocked on the door. Inside the home, everything looked normal, too normal. Shoes by the entrance, a purse on the counter, children's blankets folded neatly. But the house was eerily silent. No laughter, no footsteps, no sign of life. Cut to Imagine audio, a shaky 911 call. Female voice distressed. My friend, she didn't show up for her doctor's appointment. Her car's still here. Her kids are gone. Something isn't right. What began as a missing persons report would unravel into one of the most chilling family annihilation cases in modern American history. A story of betrayal hiding behind a smile, of secrets buried beneath oil fields, and of a man who claimed he snapped, but left behind a trail of calculated lies. The story of Chris Watts. Shanann Watts was 34 years old, a devoted mother, an active presence on social media, and a sales representative for a health and wellness company. Her life revolved around her two daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste, known affectionately as Cece. Chris Watts, 33, worked as an oil field operator for Anadarko Petroleum. Quiet, reserved, soft-spoken. Neighbors would later describe him as polite, boring, and the last person you'd ever suspect. On the surface, the Watts family appeared picture perfect, but behind closed doors, the marriage was crumbling. Financial stress weighed heavily on the household. The couple had filed for bankruptcy just a few years earlier. Shanann was pregnant with their third child, a baby boy they planned to name Nico. And then there was another woman. In the summer of 2018, Chris began an affair with a co-worker, Nicole Kessinger. The relationship escalated quickly. Secret dates, intimate messages, talk of a future together. For the first time in his life, Chris felt free, but freedom came at a cost. August 13, 2018. A clock ticks, 2 a.m. Shanann returned home from a business trip in Arizona. She was exhausted, pregnant, unaware that this would be the last night of her life. According to Chris's later confession, the argument began in the early hours of the morning. Shanann confronted him about the affair. Voices were raised. Emotions spilled over. Chris' confession excerpt monotone. We talked. She said she'd never let me see the kids again. Moments later, Chris claimed he strangled her. No screaming, no struggle he would admit to. Shanann died in that bed. But the horror didn't end there. Chris then turned his attention to his daughters. In one of the most disturbing aspects of the case, he admitted that Bella and Celeste were still alive as he loaded their mother's body into his truck. Chris, interview audio recreation. They asked what was wrong with Mommy. Pause. He drove nearly an hour to a remote oil site owned by his employer. At the site, Chris smothered Celeste. Bella watched. Chris. She said, Daddy, no. He then killed Bella. Shanann was buried in a shallow grave nearby. The girls' bodies were forced through the small openings of separate oil tanks, an act so calculated and disturbing it shocked even seasoned investigators. By sunrise, Chris was returned home and acted as if nothing had happened. Within hours, police were at the Watts residence. Shanann's friend Nicole Atkinson had raised the alarm when Shanann missed an appointment and stopped answering her phone. From the beginning, Chris's behavior raised red flags. He smiled at inappropriate moments. He avoided eye contact. He spoke about his missing family in the past tense. Chris, TV interview. I just want them back. If they're out there watching this, please come home. Detectives noticed something else. His story didn't add up. Security footage from a neighbor showed Chris backing his truck into the driveway early that morning. Something he never did. Phone records revealed deleted messages. And then there was the affair, when investigators confronted Nicole Kessinger. She cooperated. But her messages revealed Chris had been researching things like how to prepare for separation and can police trace text messages. The turning point came during a polygraph test. Chris failed. Then, under pressure, he confessed, but only partially. He initially blamed Shanann, claiming she had killed the children and that he killed her in a rage. Investigators didn't believe him. Days later, confronted with overwhelming evidence, Chris Watts finally told the full truth. In November 2018, Chris Watts pleaded guilty to 5 counts of first-degree murder, unlawful termination of a pregnancy, tampering with deceased bodies. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Shanann's family spoke out in court, their grief palpable. Shanann's father, "You took my future." The case sent shockwaves across the country. Media outlets dissected every detail. Psychologists debated his motives. Viewers questioned how someone so normal could commit such unspeakable acts. Today, Chris Watts remains incarcerated in Wisconsin, spending his days in isolation. The house in Frederick stands empty, a silent reminder of what happened inside. The Watts case forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth, that monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they wear wedding rings. Sometimes they tuck their children into bed. And sometimes the danger isn't outside the home, but sleeping beside you. If you or someone you know is experiencing emotional distress or domestic conflict, help is available. Silence can be deadly, but speaking out can save lives.